Now, they're training you to be a specific person and carry a specific role where you are on the not even the chessboard on the puzzle of what is the full U.S. national security system. You're just one little piece somewhere,
Right.
doing one thing, and so they're training you. This is a strange dichotomy here. They're training you how to appear and act in small ways that are synonymous with what a rogue international criminal might be like,
Right.
while also developing incredible using some of your empathetic skills and things like that, developing an incredible ability for you to have people gravitate towards you without putting on the front that makes it seem like you want people to gravitate towards you. I think about this maybe I'm drawing the wrong distinction here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think about this a lot like with women, right? If you make yourself too available to women or too all over them and too nice, they're like, fuck that. But if you're a little bit like, hey, I'm in my lane, nice to see you, great, wow, cool, moving along with your day as if nothing's going on, they come right to you.
Excellent analogy. It's one that was actually brought up in doing this. This is seduction. At the end of the day, you're seducing somebody, maybe not into bed, but into, the end goal of what you want to happen, or into you being safe, or, into selling you something that they're not supposed to sell, from the company that they work for. And so it is very much a seductive process.
Was there like a graduation day at the end? Where like, woo, you did it.
No, the guy that had trained me was a very strong personality. Like if you met him, you would have thought that he was like, I don't know, in the mob or something. Like he was very, very strong personality, and he didn't give a lot of positive reinforcement. Right. So
you were definitely outside New York. I know it. I know it. This is some fucking Italian. I could see it. Keep going.
So yeah, he didn't. I think he said like 3 nice words to me in my entire life.
Fucking you.
Yeah, pretty much. But in the right order, right?
You fuck.
Yeah.
So you get done though, and did you know while you were training that your initial ops were literally going to be with him?
Not until the end.
Okay.
No,
How did that go down? He's like, congratulations, you work with me now.
Yeah, so essentially what he was doing was a handover with some of his connections in that world. He would introduce me to them so that I could take over the relationship going forward.
Introducing you in the context of being a criminal, though, not, someone where they're a CI.
Yeah, I could have been a criminal or just a businessman that was a little bit willing to play outside the lines. It wasn't...
Meaning they didn't know who you guys really were.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Right.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't until later in my career that the official criminal stuff started happening. In the beginning, it was just, you want to give the vibe that if there's a rule that needs to be broken here, like, I'm about that, And there are really subtle ways that you can do that with people without telling them, like, hey, I'm into doing dirt, in case you're wondering. But
now, if he's still active, though, around the world doing some of these things, 9 months off the reservation at a mansion seems like a long time to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, did he ever have to step out to go do things?
Yeah, he was gone at times. Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Especially when they would bring in another expert to train me on something else. I wasn't aware what his schedule was.
Did he ever show you anything like at the desk there where he's like, hey, I'm actively working on this right now. Watch me, launder some money.
So he would bring back like tech specs from like weapons or like foreign manuals for like, classified projects that an adversary was working on, like a comm system for an airplane, hypothetically, and show me like, hey, this is what's valuable about this. This is what you would want. So I was aware of some of the stuff, but.
Now, they're training you to be a specific person and carry a specific role where you are on the, not even the chessboard, on the puzzle of what is the full U.S. national security system. You're just one little piece somewhere,
right,
doing one thing. And so a lot of guys I talk to, they talk about that compartmentalization, how you're just in your world. But from a high level, were there discussions like strategically that are happening where you're not necessarily being read in on, but you're being explained the biggest picture enemies that the United States is currently most threatened by, that all these little operations around the world in some way come back to?
Absolutely not. It was completely compartmentalized.
Yeah.
At this period of my life, there could have been something going on that every single person knew about on the news that I might be oblivious to. I was so pigeonholed into what I was doing and where it was.
How were you with like technology? Obviously, you mentioned you're using some of it, whether it be to move Bitcoin and stuff like that, or to create some digital differences and stuff. Like, how good were you with different, I don't know, like spooky high-level gadgets that would be cool to me?
Yeah, so the NSA background helped a lot with this. And then I had an educational background. My first degree was in cryptology. So for covert communications, right, or things that we would do in that, I had a background for that already, so that helped quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not like a computer hacker or anything like that. That would be outside my wheelhouse.
Did you get to do any cool disguise work during this time? Like, we hear the stories about the masks and the things that CIA had. I mean, they had it 30, 40 years ago. John Kiriakou talked about it with, John Mendez and some of the things they had back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he explained, like, him using it and how indistinguishable it was from a real person. Did you get any of that during this time?
So we worked with, like, close and, a little bit of it. But what might surprise you about the program that I was in is how low tech we did stuff. We were running things close to how like the OSS did it, in World War II.
Wow.
Just to stay off the radar. Right. So it's very important when you're going out on these operations that the security service does not pick you up in the beginning. Right. You probably heard like the term going black, right? Where people are under surveillance and then they ditch surveillance and they do something.
Yep.
In my program, you don't do that. If you're under surveillance, you don't do stuff.
You stay under surveillance.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to conduct your operational act. Like, it's not the same approach to that problem.
Can you explain that a little more? I'm a little lost on that. So if you are in foreign country X, let's just you're in Russia. Let's make it simple. And you realize you're under surveillance. Andy Bustamante walked me through the 3 types of surveillance. What was it? Alessia was like, track to something, track to whatever, track to catch. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so we have the term, it's like a PBG, right? Patch, badge, and gun, right? You're always looking at the different levels of the security service, right? So here we'd have like a local cop. We'd have the FBI, right? Like, there's different levels to it. And in what I did, if you were being observed by them, you're not, this is no bueno, right? So the trick is to not get looked at, not try to defeat them once they're looking at you.
But if were you ever in a scenario where they were looking at you?
I was in a scenario where I was pretty sure that was happening.
How did you determine that?
Just through like my surveillance detection routes and some other support that we had.
Okay.
Right. And so we were fairly sure that I was on the radar. It was probably because I was associating with criminals, right? And so like this country's version of the FBI is looking at me. And so, but if you don't know, right, you don't go through with what we would call the operational act. Like, if you don't know if you're being watched or not, you don't go through it.
You just do nothing.
Yeah.
How do you make
Come
that
back
excuse?
And do it later.
Yeah. How do you make that excuse though to people you're working with?
So like if I was going to go buy something.
Sure.
So you use the truth as the excuse, right? Like, hey, I thought I saw some cops following me. I didn't want to bring that heat.
Got it. Okay.
I don't have to tell him, I'm very good at determining if they're following me. But
thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.